Let's still continue our conversation around the economy as we take a look at the latest development coming out of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank, which raised the monetary policy rate, NPR, by 25 basis points from 27.25% to 27.50%. All of this is in a bid to curb the rising inflation. Has this been able to curb inflation? This is like about the sixth time that we are having monetary policy rate, hiked. Let's join Ayemibo Bamidele, who is an international business development and trade finance expert. He joins us right about now via Zoom. Let's get his thoughts on this matter. Bamidele, good morning. Welcome to News Up.
Good morning. How are you today?
It could be better. It could be better. We're excited. Port Harcourt Refineries is offloading fuel right now. But sadly, is the fact that NPR has raised interest rates again, which is an attempt to curb inflation. But it has never worked in the last few years. We keep using this monetary tool as the only tool to curb inflation. It has never worked. Did you see this coming? 25 basis point increase from the MPC yesterday. Did you see this coming?
Yes, of course. Yes, because the inflation is still going up. And remember, the objective of interest rate is to be able to tighten the system in a way to reduce money supply. And in order to be able to ensure that there is incentive for people to want to give more money to the bank. And of course, for the bank to also be able to give give more interest rate to people that are depositing with the bank. And of course, making the monetary, particularly the money market, attractive to investors, just to be able to reduce the money supply and reduce inflation as much as possible. So I'm not surprised that this happened, although it's slowing down, not as much as it was before. So it seems as if we are getting to the end. I will probably begin to see reverse very soon.
Like I said earlier, this seemed to have been like the only tool that the NPC seemed to have been using to curb inflation. It doesn't seem to have worked. Every time we tighten the rates, inflation obviously hits the rooftop. The last report as released by the NBS did explain the fundamentals behind the inflationary pressure that was being experienced. He talked about the rising costs in transportation as well as food prices, these are the two main components responsible for the rise in the last inflation figures as released by the NBS. I'm trying to understand how consistent tightening of the NPR, which of course comes with quite a number of negative implications for the economy in general. We have been tightening for a while now. Help me understand how many investors it has attracted, as against how many businesses had gone down given to this tightened interest rates. Ayemibo, speak to me, please.
No, I share your sentiment about the fact that ordinary man on the street does not see or cannot see the impact of this interest rate hike. But like I said, the impact on inflation, sincerely, according to the data available, is slowing down. When you look at what the inflation figure has been, the change in inflation between October last year and November this year, so cumulatively about 6.55%. And interest rate cumulative has been about 8.75% according to the data available. The job of CBN is to curtail inflation, is to fight inflation, and also ensure they regulate foreign exchange. The other thing you're concerned about, which is where I think the problem has been, is the support on the fiscal side. That look, we need to do this on the monetary side. This is what the federal government is doing on the fiscal side to ameliorate the impact. You also talked about the fact that transport and food has been a major factor that is increasing inflation. Understandably so. These two factors have a lot of exchange rate impact on them. So, for example, food. A number of the food items are imported. Apart from the fact that the food items are imported, we have the input. the pesticide, the seed themselves, the herbicide, the fertilizer. A number of these inputs are imported. And then for the transport, diesel is imported. Now, with the fact that we're not producing locally, it's not going to reduce the price because the raw material being used, at least as far as Dangote is concerned, and for those that are importing, it still have impact of the exchange rates on it. So, like you said, we are not seeing the impact the way it should. And the CBN governor made a very important statement yesterday, which have been echoed by a number of economists, that it takes a while for the impact of the effort they are making to begin to see. It's about a year now they've been there. So we expect by first quarter of next year, if we don't begin to see moderation in inflation and improvement in the exchange rate, then what you're saying, we can safely conclude that, look, we definitely have to do something different compared to what we are doing right now. But I think the support on the fiscal side is not as much as it should be, because if the government is able to cushion the effect, then the impact on the people will have been reduced significantly.
You know, Bamidele, I'm just a man on the street. I'm just a man that just wants to live and want to do business. I'm just a businessman that wants to succeed. I'm just a man that wants to walk into the bank and get a facility at a reasonable rate to do business that will succeed. All of this I have not seen in the last few years, all given to this consistent rise in NPR. Whilst this seemed like the only tool available to the MPC, wouldn't they be considerate of the fact that it comes with a lot of negative implications on the real sector of the economy? I took a facility from a bank, maybe 10 million naira in December at a particular interest rate, maybe 20% at annual interest rate. As it speaks now, I'll be made to pay as much as 27% or even 35%, all given to the fact that NPRO has been increased over time. The impact on businesses is my concern here, because if we allow the local businesses to die while we focus on wanting to attract international businesses, then we are on the wrong trajectory, Bamidele. That's my point here. What are we doing to ensure that the domestic businesses survive?
I agree with you, and that's what I'm saying. You know, like the CBN is looking at the best of two evils. Should we keep the NPR and then allow the inflation to continue to go up? That would be a worse situation. It's like you have two things you have to do. When you are saying, is there any other thing? The other thing that needs to be done is to grow the FS inflow into the country. Out of all the option of getting inflow into the country in terms of effect, foreign direct investment, foreign portfolio investment, remittances, trading goods, trading services, trading goods and services is what we have control over. And that's why I said, you know, when CBN decided to hands is off completely off the issue of increasing, because if one of the CBN job is to moderate interest rate, and increasing FX inflow is going to help them do that job, and the fiscal side is not doing it, which was what happened in the last era, that's exactly what I think the CBN should do, in addition to what they are doing right now, to be able to increase to a large extent support they are given, to be able to increase the inflow into the country, particularly for trading goods and trading services, which we have control over, because we don't have control over remittances, we don't have control over foreign direct investment, we don't have control over foreign particular investment. People are going to decide they are going to bring money into our country, but we have control over how much we generate in terms of export of goods and export of services. That, I think, is what we need to focus on the fiscal side, that CBN can actually support, but CBN has said, look, you want to focus on its core mandate, which is inflation and exchange rate, and as it's off completely, like it was done in last administration on this, and this is why we are finding ourselves where we are. So as it is right now, we still need the Minister of Trade, Minister of Finance to do what they need to do in terms of supporting the growth of non-oil export as much as possible to be able to reduce the impact. But on the side of CBN, like I said, it's best of two evils. It's either you leave it and allow it to continue, we will be worse off, or you do something to moderate and reduce it as much as possible, which is what they are doing with the tool they have on their hands.
You know, I'm happy we're having this conversation, especially with the fact that you've agreed with the fact that the fiscal authorities are not doing what they are meant to do. Now, let's align the position of the NBS with what the fiscal authorities are meant to do. NBS is saying that transportation and food are the major component responsible for the rise in inflation. What do you think government can be doing directly to reduce the impact on the people as a way of supporting activities of the NPC? Are you going to be calling for some certain level of intervention, like, I hate to use the word, but then let me say it, subsidy, even though this government shies away from that word, subsidy in transportation, subsidy in food. This could somehow reduce the inflationary pressures that the economy is being faced with. Let me get your thoughts on that.
We can't shy away from subsidy. Developing countries subsidize energy for their people. If we shy away from subsidy because of sharp practices, instead of fixing the sharp practices, instead of dealing with people that are engaged in that sharp practices, I keep repeating, Dangote confirmed the fact that they can monitor truck leaving their refinery to anywhere that truck is going to deliver the product. If Dangote is saying that, why can't Nigerian government give Dangote crude oil at a cheaper rate? It's our crude oil. We have control over it. We can control the price. Why can't we give to Dangote at a cheaper rate? And based on the volume given to Dangote, Dangote sell to the marketer at a cheaper rate also. And then Dangote using his tracker, track every truck leaving his factory down to wherever it's going and be able to identify those crossing the border and ensure that those people are brought to book. This is why I don't understand. Maybe what I'm saying does not make sense, or I don't understand why we can't do this. We know we are in control of the raw material. We can actually give this raw material to Dangote in Naira at a cheaper rate so that Dangote can also sell at a cheaper rate. It has reduced its price in recent time, but it can reduce it further, and government can make that happen by reducing the price it's selling. Because at the end of the day, government is spending a lot of money to be able to support. Government makes a lot of money to be able to reduce the impact on the people. We are doing conditional cash transfer, but we could have reduced the cost that the people get petrol, and then I would have reduced the cost of transport and consequently the cost on food.
All right, Babidele, we have to let you go, but it would be an injustice if I don't ask you this question. The Port Harcourt refinery picked up yesterday with about 60,000 barrels production. I don't know how this comes to you. How much difference can this make to this conversation we're having right about now?
It's often said half bread is better than none. A lot of money have been spent to be able to put it up to where it is right now. That it has started production. I think kudos to the team that make that happen. What we now need to do is to ensure we don't have downtime again and increase the volume. But the fact that it has happened for me make a lot of sense. Irrespective of all the issues and the delay and the extension of time, the fact that it has happened is extremely important. Can we maintain this tempo in order to increase? And why is building its own and another refinery? At the end of the day, we might be able to get a situation where we have equilibrium in the market and the price is moderated.
Will this impact pricing? That's my concern. That's what many Nigerians would want to hear. Are we looking at a possibility of a reduction in the pump price of petroleum products?
I don't see a significant impact right now because what they are producing is very, very small compared to Nigerian demand. But it's a step in the right direction. That's why I said I foresee a situation in which this volume increase, we should be producing millions of barrels, not thousands of barrels. But within the thousands, it's a good news because we have started production.
Bamidele Ayemibo, thank you so very much for your time with us on the show. Always a pleasure speaking with you on Ease Up. Thank you very much.